Hi. They told me they wanted me to be a part of this tonight, and I said, okay, I want to do a duet with Clayton. Clayton said, not in a million frickin' years. So I have something else to do, and I have something to do that I am very, very excited about. When the board of directors began their discussions on the ACMA's 2014 Hall of Fame inductees, it'll come as no surprise that the name Hal Yerxa was the #1 mention. Hal Yerxa's broadcasting career began in Regina in 1937 when he was hired as an announcer by CJRM, later CKRM, then owned by James Richardson and Sons Limited. The lure of Toronto as a network production center took him east for a few years in a job with the CBC until he called to the colors and service with the Regina Rifles Regiment. Returning to civilian life, he joined the announcing staff of CKCK Regina, then moving later to CJCA, where he became popular with, here's a memory, Uncle Hal and Jojo the Parrot children's program, and also took over the desk as news director of the Edmonton station. In a later role, Hal was on location broadcasting live. This is very cool because we do have the audio of that. He was there live when Leduc #1 oil well came in. How cool is that? In the late 40s, Hal was involved with the group that started up CKRD Red Deer, and from there he went on to CKNW in New Westminster, where he was a morning DJ. In 1953, he returned to Alberta with a license for a 250-watt radio station for Camrose, Alberta. A year later, with a staff of 11, he signed on CFCW 1230 on the AM dial on the air. In 1957, he brought the power increase to 1,000 watts, and there was a mix of agricultural news and programming to a growing rural audience behind the Camrose city limits. 3 years later, in 1960, CFCW increased their power to 10,000 watts, moved to 790 on the AM dial, soon to be 840, don't ask, and became the first station in Canada to play country music 24 hours a day. With the station growing in wattage to 50,000 watts in 1973, and listeners, they garnered big news when they announced that Curly Gerlach, the popular host of Curly's Corral on CJCA in Edmonton, would move to Camrose and host the morning show. Curly was followed by Hall of Famers Bev Monroe, my friend, and of course, the 90s popular duo of Wes Montgomery and Jackie Ray. Sadly, our broadcast icon, Hal Yerxa, passed away on April the 12th, 1997. Tonight, we are proud to have his widow, Mary Yerxa, and his son, John Yerxa, in attendance to accept the 2014 ACMA Hall of Fame induction on his behalf. Would you please welcome Mary and John Yerxa.
He's cash for everything. He'll only drive for Chevy. He thinks Alan Jackson's cool. He knows everyone by name. At the local hardware store, they don't make them like that anymore. Up with the sun each morning, hardly missed.
Thank you, Larry. My mother, Mary Yerxa. You don't have to stand up here if you don't want to. All right, well, thank you very much. I do want to say, though, at the outset that I was a little leery about accepting the invitation to accept this award on behalf of my father, because I have a research company that's been around for about 20 years, and the reason that I was a little hesitant was because I, with proprietary research that we had done, discovered a long time ago that in any event such as this, notwithstanding the music, whenever the speeches start, after about 5 to 10 minutes, 20% of the audience loses interest. And after about, another 10 or 15 minutes, 40% of the audience loses interest. And at the stage we're at now, I think if I recall correctly, I think 80% of the audience has drifted off into some sort of, daydream. Although, what I do remember the research also saying was that 80%, the majority of them are generally engulfed in some sort of deep sexual fantasy. So in that respect, I guess I make no apology for the pleasure that I'm about to give you. It's an honor to accept this award with my mother on behalf of my father, Hal Yerxa, who passed away in April of 1997. As Larry pointed out in his introduction, my father was considered a pioneer in both the Canadian energy industry as well as the Canadian broadcast industry. In 1947, as news director of JCA in Edmonton, he gained wide acclaim after broadcasting live from Leduc number 1, signaling the start of the Alberta oil boom. And then in 1954, of course, as you know, he started CFCW, which most people don't realize this, but the call letters CFCW stand for Canada's First Country and Western. The success of CFCW was due not only due to the introduction of country music to this region of Canada, but also in large part to my dad's commitment to discover and nurture local country music talent in the years that followed. In fact, when he was granted a license for a new FM station in Edmonton in 1978, he had become so committed to the discovery and development of local talent that he built a professional recording studio right in the middle of the radio station. In fact, it was the first FM radio station of that era to build such a studio and to commit a significant percentage of revenue every year to the development of local musical talent, including so many Canadian country music artists. More recently, as the founder of CJNW Hot 107 in Edmonton, I tried to extend my father's legacy by doing the same thing. And of course, it paid huge dividends. Suffice it to say that my father loved his family, he loved horses. You don't really have the cutting horse picture, but he was a cowboy at heart. And most of all, he loved country music. And he would have been so honored to be here this evening. So on behalf of Hal Yerxa, his wife, my mother, Mary, I want to sincerely thank you for this award. Thank you.